My bad.
No worries.
Oh, we have Judge Williams.
Yes.
Okay, let me change my paperwork. By the way, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, the judge will be, oh, I guess she's here.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. This is the State Expedited Accusations calendar in the State Court of Fulton County, Georgia. I am Judge Melanie Williams. Today is April the 15th of 2023. All particular participants, this particular proceeding is being broadcast over the internet as a live stream. It's also being recorded. That means any member of the public can watch this. All defendants, you have an absolute right to remain silent. Anything you say regarding the facts of your case can and will be used against you. Those who receive a signature bond will be reset further notice to a division judge. And those who receive a surety or cash bond will be reset. What is my reset date, Ms. Holly?
April 27th.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bridgewater. They will be reset to state all purpose on April the 27th. Who do we have first? And it's muted at courtroom 2 if you're telling me who it is.
This is position number 3. Ms.
All right.
Brunson.
All right, thank you. I'm going to.
Good morning, Your Honor. How are you? Or good afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon. All right, hold on one second, Mr. Bartels. This is position 3, Ari Brunson?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Brunson, your case is 23 CR 002331F. You're charged with 2 counts of simple battery with the offense date of January the 21st. You understand your rights?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Hold on one second. Well, Mr. Howard, can I have the history, please?
First.
Thank you. Mr. Bartels, I'll give you one moment. Let's go to Ms. Falk first. Ms. Falk, the state's recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. Just very quickly, this is actually part of a 3 co-defendant case. Mr. Reginald Brunson received a $3,000 surety bond 2 days ago, and Crystal Burdett received a $2,000 surety bond about a week ago. Miss Ari Brunson appears to have been the ringleader of all of this. Apparently on January 21st at 201 Maury Avenue, the defendant and Italy Burdett, who are cousins, were in a verbal argument, and the defendant at some point sent a text threatening Italy, who was 1 month pregnant at the time. The defendant then called Italy's aunt, Crystal Burdett, and uncle, Reginald Brunson, to help her fight Italy Burdett. Italy's mother, Takia Burdett, was then tricked by her sister, Crystal Burdett, into opening the door. And the defendant at that point, along with Crystal Burdett and Reginald Brunson, then attacked both Italy Burdett and her sister, Skylar Burdett. The defendant's role in this is that she struck Skylar in the head multiple times, pulled her down the stairs, and struck her on the face, head, and body. The defendant also struck Italy Burdett, who was pregnant at the time, several times with a closed hand in the head, face, and body, and threw a candle at her. Because of Miss Brunson's involvement in all of this, the state is recommending a $3,000 surety bond, $1,500 per count, no further contact with Skylar Burdett, Italy Burdett, or Takia Burdett. Stay away from 201 Maury Avenue and 224 Sebastian Way. The remaining parts of those conditions are the same conditions that both Mr. Reginald Brunson and Crystal Burdett received as well as part of their bonds. That's all for the state.
All right. And I do see your announcement, Mr. Bartels. Will we have an interpreter today, Ms. Lewis?
From understanding, we're supposed to, but let me follow up to find out what the ETA time is gonna be on there.
Okay.
And
one
Your
thing-
Honor, I do not, and sorry to interrupt, I don't see Miss Burdette or her daughters in the Zoom. So I'm assuming they did not attend this Zoom, but they have attended previous ones.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Lewis, as soon as the interpreter comes on the line, will you please let me know via chat? Thank you. All right, Mr. Bartels, please proceed on this case.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. We did not receive much of the paperwork from the clerk's office. So what we're having to go on is what is in Odyssey, but the warrant I have doesn't say anything about a Reginald Burdette. So I've talked with Ms. Brunson, whose case is here before the court. She does deny that she was the initial aggressor. She indicates that she only did what was necessary to protect herself. It appears that she has no arrests, no history at all, Your Honor. And she was born and raised in Atlanta. She's lived in the Atlanta area all of her life. Her father and her siblings live in this area, so she has ties to the community. There would also be no issue with a no further contact order. So given all of that, we ask that she be allowed to sign her own bond. She is not a threat to the community and is not a flight risk, Your Honor.
All right, at this time, defendant will receive a $2,000 surety bond, $1,000 on each count. She's to have no contact with any of the alleged victims and stay away from the incident locations. Additionally, she's to have no drugs, alcohol, or weapons as a condition of those surety bonds. Is there anything further? All right, best of luck to you, Ms. Brunson. That concludes your hearing at this time. All right, who we have next?
Position 4, Cofer.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Cofer. Your case number is 23 CR 002332Y. In this case, you're charged with simple battery, family violence, and obstructing or hindering a person making an emergency phone call. Do you understand your rights today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Howard, will you put the history onto the record, please?
First.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Duncan, please proceed.
Sorry, I didn't hear the pretrial report.
Okay, for Mr. Howard, you sure this is first arrest?
That's not what I have, Your Honor.
That's not what
Oh,
you
you said
I
Cobra?
didn't hear it all.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
my
Cofer.
bad. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I didn't think.
He actually got 43 of them.
Right.
He got several bench warrants, shoplifting conviction, ag assault conviction, theft by shoplifting, theft by taking, another ag assault. He got everything.
Okay, thank you. This is Mr. Bartel's case. After we finish this case, can we take a case that belongs to someone else so that he can interview his clients with the help of Ms. Chancey? Ms. Chancey, will you please raise your right hand very quickly?
Yes, Your Honor.
All
Good
right.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Do you swear and affirm today that you will make an accurate translation from English to Spanish, Spanish to English to the best of your skills, knowledge, and ability?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right. I'm sorry. Please state your full name for the record.
My full name is Adriana, Adriana, Alicia, Alicia, Chancey, Chancey.
Thank you, Ms. Chancey. All right.
You're
Ms.
welcome.
Duncan. Ms.
Excuse me,
Duncan, please.
Judge Williams, what courtroom will the interpreters be in? I mean, the defendants.
They're here in courtroom 2, but they're gonna have to go to courtroom 3. Somebody gonna come around and take them to courtroom 3.
Okay.
Okay. I'm assuming that didn't happen yet. Mr. Bartels is still here anyway. All right, Mr. Bartels, I'm sorry, Ms. Duncan, please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, this defendant, in fact, has what I believe to be what I saw from the history, 3 open bench warrants. That's 18 CR 009432Y. That's a dormant bench warrant for a battery with visual harm. The victim in that case was a Shanna Burton. The defendant FTA'd on jury trial and a status calendar. He additionally has 21 CR 003931Y, a dormant bench warrant for DUI less safe and failure to maintain lane. He failed to appear for plea and arraignment twice with Judge Edie, and then there's 21 CR 003877Y. That's a school zone violation and driving while license suspended and DUI drugs bench warrant out of Judge Edie. I also saw that this defendant had 2 holds, one for a simple assault and one for failure to appear. In this case, Your Honor, it did occur on February 9th, 2022 at 4590 Washington Road. The victim in this case is LaShanta Freeman, LASHANTA, Freeman, common spelling, FREEEMAN. In this case, it's indicated that this defendant was living with the victim at the time they got into a verbal dispute. And at the time they walked into their shared living space, at the time the verbal dispute turned physical when this defendant took her cellular phone from her and began to grab her by the back of the neck and drag her from the living room to the bedroom after taking her cellular phone device. Once officers arrived at that location, the victim had to run to a neighbor's house to be able to call 911. And then once officers arrived and before the defendant left the scene, he did give the victim's cellular phone back. Officers indicated that they saw signs of her being drugged, given the state of her clothing. We were able to speak to the victim today through our victim advocate. She informed our office that she and the defendant were together. They're no longer together. They don't live together anymore, and they don't have any children. She did state that they did have a domestic violence history during their relationship and that she is afraid of this particular defendant and she wants no contact, and that she actually did in fact sustain bruises and scratches as a result of the dragging. Given that this case is still ongoing in investigation, the state intends to amend these accusations after court based on the statements made by the witness to a battery family violence. Given the facts as alleged and this defendant's criminal history with several violent convictions of aggravated nature, we do have concern about the risk of reoffense. We do have somewhat concern about the particular dangers to this individual victim. We also have concerns about this defendant's flight risk, given that he does have several FTAs, at least 3 from this year alone that I counted. We also have concerns that this defendant's likelihood to respond to legal processes. This defendant does have probation revocations and has a total of 43 cycles. Given all this information and the other factors that we believe are present in this case, the state will be requesting a $4,000 total surety. That's $3,000 on the simple battery family violence and $1,000 on the hindering 911. No further contact with the victim in this case. A stay away from the incident location. I'm sorry, we don't need to stay away. She no longer lives at that location, just no further contact with her. 2 weeks of anger management, no further violations of Georgia law. And it was indicated that she may be on a Zoom today. So when appropriate, the state would like the court to sound for the victim in this case, Ms. Freeman.
All right, I don't see Ms. Freeman on the screen. Is she at courtroom 2 by any chance? All right, Mr. Bartels, please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I've spoken with Mr. Kofer about his case and reviewed the warrant that is available. The warrant is almost a page long and there's nothing there about any visible injury, and it's charged as a simple battery. So that appears to be new information for all of us. I would point that out. Mr. Kofer, I'm told, is employed by Georgia World Congress Center full-time. He works as a freight worker, loading and unloading trucks and deliveries. He does deny the allegations. He indicates that there was a verbal argument and he only did what was necessary to defend himself from aggression on the part of Ms. Freeman. I am advised that they have had no contact since then. I believe, I'm told the same thing as the state, that they do not live together and are no longer together. So no further contact order would not raise any issues. My client is from the Atlanta area. He indicates his mother and brothers and grandparents all live in the area. So he does have ties to the community. He is employed full time. And given all that, we would ask for a $2,000 total bond. We would ask for a $1,500 bond on the simple battery, and then a $500 charge on the telephone call charge.
All right. Defendant will receive a $2,500 surety bond, $2,000 on the simple battery, $500 on the making the phone call or hindering the call. He's to have no contact with Ms. Freeman and have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons as a condition. Is there anything further?
Nothing further from the
Further,
city.
Your Honor.
Thank you. And if possible, can we go to a position that belongs to Ms. McLeod, perhaps?
That's position number 6.
Okay. And is it possible for Mr. Bartels to start his interviews? Is that possible?
I'm ready to go.
I don't know if anybody's come to get, yes. So if we could put courtroom 3, Mr. Bartels and Ms. Chancey in a breakout, Ms. Lewis, I'd appreciate it. All right, let's proceed with position number 6. That is, I apologize, let me scroll down. That is the case of Alem Farkul. I apologize if I'm saying it incorrectly. Your case is 23 CR 002343C. You're charged with battery and simple assault in this case with the offense date of April the 14th. You understand your rights?
Yes, I understand.
I'm sorry, you do understand your rights?
Yeah, I understand.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Howard, will you put the history onto the record, please?
Got 4 cycles. The previous 3 was from 2019. 2 of them said special interest alien and alien inadmissibility. That's all I saw.
All right, thank you. Ms. Falk, please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. This happened at the Chevron at 1217 Metropolitan Parkway Southwest. Ms. Shantaria Miller, who's actually here in the courtroom with us today, and I would ask her if she would like to speak at the conclusion of this. She came into the Chevron to purchase a pickle. Her card was then declined because the card was locked. She then asked a security guard, according to the police report, to go and retrieve her phone so she could unlock her card and finish her purchase. While security was doing that, the defendant accused her of shoplifting. They began arguing. And the defendant then came around the counter with a metal bat and struck her in the leg and then reared back with the bat again as though he were going to strike her in the head. According to Ms. Miller, she then called 911. The defendant did admit to striking her in the leg with a baseball bat after he and Miller were arguing, and video surveillance showed the defendant striking her in the leg with a bat and then raising the bat as if he were going to strike her in the head, which was consistent with what Ms. Miller stated. And at that point, Ms. Miller raised both of her hands in front of her face, and then the defendant walked back around the counter as Miller called 911. We have, again, had an opportunity to speak with her, and she stated that the defendant, while the guard was helping her by getting her her app on her phone, the defendant took a bat, attempted to hit her in the head, accused her of trying to shoplift. A customer intervened, and the bat hit her knee. She stated her knee is bruised and swollen. She has been taking ibuprofen for the pain, and she wants the defendant prosecuted to the fullest. We have had an opportunity to see pictures that Ms. Miller did send us of her injury from yesterday, and the knee is swollen and bruised. The state is requesting a $4,500 surety bond, $3,000 on the battery, $1,500 on the simple assault. We're asking that he have no further contact whatsoever with Shantaria Miller, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. And I will state that there is nothing in the warrant that we saw or in the report that indicated that the Ms. Miller made any aggressive movements toward the defendant that would warrant him coming behind the counter and hitting her with a baseball bat. Thank
And
you.
I'm sorry, Ms. Falk, those number amounts one more time.
$3,000 on the battery, $1,500 on the simple assault for a total of $4,500. No further contact with Ms. Miller, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons.
All right, thank you. I just didn't hear the battery number. Ms. McLeod, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My client is 42 years old. He has been living in the Atlanta metro area for the past 2 years. As pretrial indicated, he has no history of violence whatsoever, and he is presumed innocent, Your Honor. He tells me he is college educated, not married at the moment, and he has no children. Given his history, Your Honor, I would ask the court to give him a signature bond so he can get out of jail and have the opportunity to defend against these charges, Your Honor. As I said, he is presumed innocent.
Thank you, Ms. McLeod. Ms. Miller, I'm going to place you under oath so that you can make a statement if you wish. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth to the best of your knowledge under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can put your hand down. Before you begin to speak, I want to remind you, this is not I'm not going to sentence the defendant today. He's not going to receive any type of, this is just a bond hearing. So really what we're doing today is just addressing whether the amount of the defendant's bond, but I will hear a limited statement from you if you'd like to make one in court here today. What would you like
Yes,
to tell
ma'am.
me?
Just in regards to the bond, I do understand this process. And I'm also concerned that if he gets this limited bond and he's able to come back outside and work in another store, if they decide to move him around based on his aggression with a bat, if he have another encounter with someone else, it could be with a gun, it could be with another bat, and then there'll be somebody else that'll be going through what I'm going through right now. So that's just what I want to say about the bond. I don't think that it's a good idea based on what happened to me.
All right, I understand. Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Thank
And
you.
I do want to explain just briefly because this is a misdemeanor charge. He will receive a bond today. Okay. Is there
Okay.
anything further from state or the defense before I make any rulings in light of the statement or testimony given by Ms. Miller?
No, Your Honor, I was just going to echo what Your Honor said, which is that under Georgia law, he is legally entitled to a bond on a misdemeanor.
All right. At this time, defendant will receive a $4,000 surety bond, $3,000 on count one, $4,000 on count two. He's to have absolutely no contact whatsoever with Ms. Miller, whether by social media, phone, or any type of contact with her at all. Additionally, he's to have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons at this time. Is there anything further?
Nothing from the state.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
All right, sir. Best of luck to you. That concludes your hearing. And Ms. Miller, thank you for coming to court today.
Thank you so much.
All right. Ms. McLeod, do you have another case or does that conclude your
I
business?
do, Your Honor. I do have another case.
Okay, you'll be
He
with us.
had one more client, but he's sleeping, he won't wake up, so I'm gonna go to Mr. Horton, position number 8.
He's asleep?
Yeah, he's on the back row sleep. So we're gonna do position number 8.
Okay, is he all right? Does he need medical?
I guess.
Oh, all right. That's interesting. All right, we'll go to position 8. Is whose case is position 8? Because Mr. Bartels. Oh, it's Mr. Coleman.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. It's my case.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't Mr. Bartels. Thank you. Mr. Horton, good afternoon. Your case is 23 CR 002334C. In this case, you're charged with criminal trespass. Do you understand your rights?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Howard, can you put the history onto the record for me?
7 total. 2020 failed to appear. 2019 trespass. 2018 disorderly conduct conviction. 2017 disorderly conduct conviction.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Falk, please proceed.
State's recommending a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Stay away from Georgia Tech property, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. This happened 2 days ago at 800 West Peachtree, Northwest Atlanta. A report was the defendant was passed out in the courtyard, but when officers made contact with him, he stated he was on the property to charge his phone. The information for him was run and returned that he was criminally trespassed from that property on March 22nd of 2023. Nothing further for the state.
All right, Mr. Coleman, any objection to that signature bond, which I'm
No, I'll
inclined?
see no objection to the signature bond.
All right. At this time, defendant will receive a $3,000 SOB through the jail. He's to absolutely stay away from Georgia Tech and have in its entirety and have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. So you understand that, sir? Do not go back to Georgia Tech. You understand that?
I do. I do have some comments. If I could.
No,
Don't make any comments at this
please,
time,
no,
sir.
no,
You're
no,
getting
please
the
don't
signature
make
bond,
any
you'll be
comments.
released.
Okay, I'm sorry for losing my composure.
Yes, please speak to Mr. Coleman if you have questions. Remember, Ms. Falk is listening and can use what you say against you. Ms. Falk, I'm sure that you're going to object to me sending it through the jail. However, I believe that there may be. Mr. Coleman, does your client have a stable address?
He does not.
And I figured that would be a problem. So,
Understood. The state's only concern was he has a bench warrant already from a 2019 case, which we just didn't want to add more to the pile.
right, but I also don't want to set him up for failure. So we will SOB through the jail, all right?
I understand.
All right, do not go back to a check. Thank you, sir. That concludes your hearing, all right? All right, who do we have next?
Position 7, Mr. Harden.
All right, Mr. Harden, good afternoon. Your case is 23 CR 2333A. You're charged with theft by taking with the offense date of February the 17th. Do you understand your rights?
Yes.
Did you hear your rights earlier?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. All right, Mr. Howard, will you put that history onto the record for me?
30 total. 2020 probation, 2019 failure to appear. It was not prosecuted. And a shoplifting conviction. I stopped there.
That's fine. That's sufficient. Ms. Falk, please proceed.
Your Honor, also just to let the court know, he has 12 cycles out of Minnesota and we were showing 18 cycles out of Georgia. So it was, he is a multi-state offender. This happened February 17, 2023 at 35 Northside Drive Southwest, apartment 5E. The defendant, who's the boyfriend of Natalie Henry, common spelling for both the first and last name, was in a dispute with Miss Henry and Miss Henry at some point asked him to be removed from her property. After he left, Miss Henry noticed her cell phone and keys were missing. Her daughter ended up buying her a new phone because she thought her phone was just lost. And when she called her old phone, the defendant answered and told her he was not returning her phone. The security guard at that location, 35 Northside Drive, did confirm that they did remove the defendant from the property at the request of Miss Henry, and additionally told the police that Miss Henry is elderly and unable to drive and rarely leaves her apartment. The state's recommendation, there is a $1,500 surety bond on this case. We would ask that it remain as set. No further contact with Natalie Henry. Stay away from 35 Northside Drive Southwest, apartment 5E, Atlanta, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That is because the defendant is a multi-state offender. He has multiple probation violations in Georgia, as well as theft offenses and theft convictions. That is all for the state.
Thank you, Ms. Falk. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 64 years old. He has been living in Atlanta for many years, Your Honor. This is where he considers home. He tells me that he is retired and living in a low-income facility. So he really does not have any money for bond. Your Honor, he denies that he took this telephone. He says it is all fabricated, that he did no such thing, and that the story is absolutely made up. And he says, although they had been in a relationship for some time, over 7 years, they have not recently been in a relationship at all. He has no problems with no further contact, since that is what the court ordered. He has no problem with that, or going back to this particular address, because they do not live together. I would ask the court to give him a signature bond, Your Honor. He has no recent criminal history based on what I heard pre-trial said, and given his age and his circumstances. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Howard, what was the last arrest? What year was that? Or Ms. Falk, can you tell me what was last arrest?
I'm showing 2018 probation revocation. Oh, actually 2020 probation revocation in Newton County Superior Court. The disposition was January 16th, 2020.
Okay. Defendant received $1,000 surety bond. He's to have no contact with Ms. Henry, and he must stay away from the incident location on Northside Drive. Additionally, have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons as a condition. All right, that concludes your case, sir, at this time. Best of luck to you. And Ms. McLeod, if that concludes your business, you're free to go. Take care.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Position number 9, Mr. Holly.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Hunt Holly. Your case is 23 CR 002335D. You're charged with battery family violence with the offense date of April the 14th. You understand your rights?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Howard, will you put the history onto the record?
Second arrest, 2020 suspended license, NOLO.
All right, thank you. Ms. Falk, please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened April 14th, 2023 at 200 Ponce de Leon Avenue Northeast. The defendant, who's the live-in boyfriend of Ashley Feliciano, Ashley common spelling Feliciano, Feliciano. She also shares a 1-year-old child with the defendant. They had a disagreement at a family gathering over a game. As they were headed home, an argument ensued over Miss Miss Feliciano feeling disrespected by a male and the defendant doing nothing. At the red light at the intersection of Ponce and Myrtle Street, the defendant struck her 5 to 6 times in the face. Officers could observe a red bruise and scratch marks to her face. The state is recommending a $3,000 surety bond, as there has been no sufficient cooling off period since this happened yesterday, no further contact with Ashley Feliciano, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger awareness. That is all for the state.
All right, thank you. Mr. Coleman?
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a signature bond for Mr. Hunt Holly. He is 28 years of age. He does have an address here in Atlanta, Fulton County for the last 6 years. He did attend some college in the state of New Jersey. He is the father of 1 child, age 1. This is only his 2nd arrest, therefore he has very limited criminal history, no violent arrests or convictions. I remind the court at this time that these are just allegations against my client. Again, we'd be requesting a signature bond.
I am going to sound for Ms. Feliciano at this time. If you're present and wish to make a statement, this is your opportunity. All right, hearing and seeing none, defendant will receive a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per judge. He's to have no contact with alleged victim and stay away from the incident location. Should he need to return to collect any items, he can do so one time with a member of law enforcement, and he can coordinate transfer of the child through a third party. Additionally, he's to take the 1-day anger awareness course and have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons as a condition. Anything?
Your Honor,
further?
just to let the court know, sorry to interrupt, the address that we gave, that was the intersection where this incident happened. I believe the address that they share is 433 Highland Avenue Northeast, apartment 1269 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, so that will be the address from which he needs to stay away. Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Falk. Is there anything further from either party?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, best of luck to you, sir. Who do we have next?
Position 10.
All right, Mr. Bertram Ibekwe, I apologize if I'm not saying it correctly.
You
Your
said
case-
it correct, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, your case is 23 CR 002336J. You're charged with disorderly conduct in this case. Do you understand your rights?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Howard, will you put the history onto the record? I
21.
have 21.
Yeah, 21. 2020 probation, 2019 probation. 2018 carrying weapon without a license conviction. 2016 trespass obstruction no low. Another trespass no low from 2016. 2011 simple assault battery conviction. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. In this instance, it did occur yesterday at the Lindbergh train station, located at 2424 Piedmont Road. In this instance, the defendant is alleged to have argued with a bus operator by the name of Christopher Brantley, last name Brautley. It's indicated during the course of this verbal altercation with that bus driver while on the bus, this defendant was in possession of a fanny pack that did in fact have a Glock 23 40 caliber inside of it. Its officers were called to that location because they had believed that this defendant had brandished said weapon, and after reviewing the footage from this incident, it was indicated that the defendant did not in fact pull the weapon out. However, he is seen on surveillance footage touching the bottom of that bag during the argument, and the bus driver indicated that at first he was not entertaining the argument with the defendant. However, when he turned around and was able to see the partially exposed handgun, he became fearful for his life, given the nature of the argument that was going on between these parties. These events were captured on MARTA CCTV. In this case, the state does have some concern, well, a major concern actually, about risk of reoffense. This defendant does have prior violent convictions and a 2019 carrying a weapon without a valid license conviction, as well as a 2017 carrying a weapon without a valid license arrest out of Clayton, and a 2020 pointing a gun or pistol at another that was dismissed. So this is not just defendant's first rodeo with encounters with firearms against other people, using them or pointing them in those directions or carrying it inappropriately. We also have concern that this defendant is a danger to the community our office has a grave concern with holding irresponsible gun owners or possessors accountable for such behaviors. As Your Honor well knows, our community is increasingly receiving an uptake in gun violence. And given that this happened on a MARTA bus, we do have concerns for the citizens of Fulton County and the other patrons that could have been on this bus. You know, if this situation would have went a different way, it could have been more lethal for both parties or all parties involved on that bus. For those reasons, Your Honor, we also have concern about this defendant's flight risk. He does have FTAs in his history, as well as probation violations and a 20-cycle history. Given these circumstances, Your Honor, given the nature of the circumstances alleged, being that this is not this defendant's first time having issues with guns, the state is going to be requesting a $10,000 total surety, no further contact with the victim in this case, stay away from all MARTA, one-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and absolutely no firearms, and no further violations of Georgia law.
All right, thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a search bond for Mr. Ibekwe. He is 32 years of age. He does have an address here in Fulton County. Mr. Ibekwe is a high school graduate. He's currently employed at 2 men and a truck as a mover. He is a father of a newborn child. He's charged with disorderly conduct. The case before the court today is a nonviolent offense. I understand that there are allegations that Mr. Ibekwe had a gun in his possession. However, it's been stated that that gun was not displayed to the alleged victim, nor was he threatened with it. The fact that he had a gun is immaterial, as that is not a crime at this time. Based on these facts, I'd be requesting search bond for Mr. Ibekwe, as this was essentially a verbal argument between him and the bus driver.
All right. At this time, defendant will receive a $2,000 surety bond. He's to have absolutely no contact with the alleged victim at this time. Additionally, he surrendered that weapon and have no other alcohol, drugs, or weapons as a condition of that bond at this time. Is there anything further?
Will Your Honor be inclined to agree to stay away?
Oh, not at this time. All right. Anything further? Mr. Ibekwe, I know you want to make a statement, but the state is listening.
Not at this time, sir.
I don't think you should. Please.
I'm not a statement. I'm just what you told me. I don't understand what you said. Surrender weapon. What do you mean by that?
Mr. Coleman can explain further, but at this time, as a condition of this bond, you should not have that gun. All right.
Exactly who is he to surrender the weapon to?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, say that again, Mr. Coleman.
Who exactly is he to surrender the weapon to?
I'm not 100% sure.
I never surrendered nothing. I never surrendered my gun. I never got a gun charge.
Sir,
please
that's not what we're saying now. We're not saying that you have a gun
no.
charge. We know that you don't.
Right. And I'm not exactly sure of the exact procedure by which he is to do that. Ms. Duncan or Ms. Falk, can you weigh in?
Your Honor, it would be the Fulton County Sheriff's Office.
All right. So you need to turn in that gun just as a condition. All right.
Okay. I don't have in possession of it. I don't even have the gun. Like
okay. Well, then if you don't have it, then we're good to go. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good. That's
position number 12.
Ma'am, it's something that I gotta say. The camera showed.
Don't say anything at this time, sir, regarding the case.
You may say something that you don't realize that you said. Please give Mr. Coleman a call after you leave, okay? Let him speak very quickly.
It's number 12. Well, I thought we was on 12.
We're going to 12. Let him speak very quickly. Mr. Ibekwe, what would you like to say? And then that's going to be the end of it. Will you unmute at courtroom 2?
Signature bond, ma'am.
I'm sorry?
May I get a signature bond, ma'am?
The ruling will stay as said, all right? Please speak with Mr. Coleman for further questions.
It's a $2,000 bond. I will call the contact you gave me, sir.
There you go. Nobody's going to help me out, sir. Damn. I just lost, bro.
All right, Mr. McPipe, your case is 23 CR002339A. You're charged with loitering and prowling and criminal trespass. You understand your rights? I'm assuming that he's saying yes, he is muted. I'm assuming courtroom 2 is muted for a reason. Mr. Howard, will you put that history onto the record?
43 total. 2021 probation, 2015 probation. 2014 disorderly conduct conviction, 2014 trespass, 2011 shoplifting obstruction conviction. I stopped there.
That's fine. Thank you. Ms. Duncan, please proceed.
Yes, after that, this defendant has had several DUI arrests and probation violations in addition to that. For this instance, Your Honor, it occurred in the area of 1007 Alpharetta Street in Roswell. For the loitering and prowling, this defendant was witnessed by the by some members of the Roswell Fire Department standing at a construction site and lifting a chain link fence for another person who is not known at this time to go onto that property and attempt to enter storage units. These incidents were also caught on the surveillance camera of a nearby store, which is the Alpharetta Bottle Shop and Supermarket. The defendant also entered that property after having a previous criminal trespass from that location. Your Honor, we don't know necessarily why they were lifting that chain link fence. However, that provides some extreme concern for the persons and property in that area. Obviously, they were not supposed to be there. We do have concerns about the risk of offense, given that the documentation indicates that he was told not to return to that Alpharetta store. And then we have concerns about the likelihood of this defendant's response to the legal process, given that he does have 42 cycles and continues to reoffend. We were not able to make contact with anyone at that bottle shop. However, this defendant currently has a $6,500 surety bond preset. The state is amenable to reducing that to a $3,000 total surety bond, with that being breakdown of $1,500 per count. I stay away from the incident location, which is 1007 Alpharetta Street. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law.
Thank you. Mr. Coleman?
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a signature bond on lieu of that, a low bond for Mr. McPipe. He is 59 years of age. He does have an address here in Fulton County. Mr. McPipe went as far as the 10th grade. He's currently not working, therefore he has no money to post for bond, living off of SSI. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond on lieu of that, a low bond for Mr. McPipe. These are nonviolent offenses. Again, I remind the court at this time that these are just allegations against my client.
All right, defendant will receive a $1,500 surety bond, $1,000 for count 1, $500 for count 2. He is to stay away from that bottle shop on Alpharetta Street and have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Is there anything further?
Nothing
further.
All right, best of luck to you, Mr. McPipe. That concludes your hearing. Who do we have next?
Position number 14, Mr. Thompson.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Thompson. Your case is 23 CR 002340H. You're charged with simple battery family violence with the offense date of April the 14th. You understand your rights?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Howard, will you put this history onto the record, please?
I saw 16 arrests. I didn't see any violence though.
Okay.
Say you,
mind.
Duncan.
All right, Ms. Duncan, please proceed.
Yes, I saw the same amount of cycles as Mr. Howard going back to 1986. He has a remote felony drug and DUI convictions, as well as some driving without a valid license and a hit and run conviction in 2014. He also has some remote FTAs and probation violations. He additionally has an FTA from 2012. Your Honor, in this instance, it did occur yesterday at 568 Willow Heights Drive. The victim in this case is Jershika Carter, who is the present spouse of this defendant. It's indicated that on this date, the defendant is alleged to have become upset because the victim was on the phone with somebody else, and that verbal altercation turned physical when this defendant did dump a beer on top of the victim's head. When officers arrived, they notated that the victim in this case, Ms. Carter, was wet. And when they did speak to the defendant, who was still on scene, he did admit to officers at that time that he did in fact dump a beer over the victim's head. Given that these parties are married, the state does have concern about the risk of reoffense. Given that alcohol was involved, we're not certain that there was an adequate cooling off period. We also have some concerns about the particular intimidation of this witness as they are married and have been for a while. We also have a flight risk concern given that FTA and this defendant's history. We do understand that this defendant's history is a bit remote, and given the nature of the circumstances surrounding this incident, the state is amenable to offering a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services. We were not able to make contact with Mrs. Carter. Therefore, we will be requesting a no further contact as this did just happen. When we don't, well, I'm sorry, it occurred on March 14th. Yes, it did just happen about a month ago, but we haven't talked to her. So we're going to be requesting a no further contact. We're not sure if they have children. However, if they do, third party contact to stay away from the incident location. No alcohol, drugs, weapons, 1-day anger awareness, and no further violations of Georgia law. Even though we were not able to make contact with this victim, we would like the court to sound for her when appropriate, just in case she is here.
I believe that the offense date was yesterday. Is that correct? The 14th of April? Is that
I
not
believe
correct?
so.
Yes,
right.
that is correct.
Okay, so it was not a month ago. I just wanted to clarify.
No, I'm sorry. I had a typo.
Okay, that's fine. Just wanted to clarify. Ms. Carter, if you're present and would like to make a statement, this is your chance to do so. I don't see Ms. Carter on the screen, so we will go to Mr. Coleman.
Your Honor, we obviously would have no objection to a signature bond from Mr. Thompson. He is 55 years of age. He does have an address here in Fulton County. He is a high school graduate. However, he is presently not working. Therefore, he has no money to post for bond. No arrests or convictions for any violent crimes in his history. Again, we would have no objection to the signature bond.
All right, I will accept the state's recommendation at this time in its entirety. He will receive a $4,000 signature bond per judge through pretrial services. He is to take the 1-day anger awareness course and have no contact with Ms. Carter. He must stay away from the incident location. He can return one time with a member of law enforcement to get any items. He can arrange to see his children by arranging them through a third party. Additionally, he's to have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Is there anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right. Best of luck to you, sir. That concludes your hearing. Who do we have next?
We just wait for them to come out of the breakout session. I'm sure I'm done with everyone.
Oh, all the rest belong to Mr. Bartels?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Oh, all right. And they are back. All right. Can we do the interpretation cases, I guess?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe we're ready.
Is courtroom 3 back? Or will they be at courtroom 2?
He's probably bringing them back around the courtroom too. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we can take a position that's there then, and when they return, we'll do those interpretation cases.
I hope I didn't miss too much, Judge.
You didn't. Who do we have next? I'm sorry, can we take another position at courtroom 2? We don't have to wait for the interpretation cases. Is there someone else we could take since Mr. Bartels has returned?
Well, I think I have one other case, Judge. Alexander, Dre Alexander.
I think you have the
Still
rest.
in courtroom 1. Hold on, here they come now. Come on.
Okay.
Position number 2.
And that is an interpretation case? Okay. All right, good afternoon, Mr. Alvarado. Your case is 23 CR 002330F. Ms. Chancey, you're muted. We can't hear you.
So sorry. Buenas tardes, señor Alvarado. Su caso es 23CR002330F.
In this case, you're charged with battery.
Y tiene un cargo de golpes y lesiones.
2 counts with the offense date of February the 3rd.
Estos cargos con fecha ocurrida el incidente en 3 de febrero del 2022.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Usted tiene el derecho de guardar silencio. Todo lo que diga puede y va a usarse en su contra.
And you have a right to an attorney today.
Y también tiene derecho a ser representado por un abogado hoy.
This proceeding is being broadcast over the internet as a live stream. It's also being recorded.
Esta audiencia está siendo divulgada a través de la internet públicamente y también está siendo grabada.
Do you understand your rights and how I'm conducting the hearing today?
¿Usted entendió esos dos primeros derechos y también de qué manera esta audiencia se está ejecutando?
Sí, se entiende.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, can I have the history, please?
Señor,
Sure. This is fourth arrest. The previous three were related to Border Patrol arrests. That's it.
son 4 los arrestos que tienes anteriores y los son relacionados con la policía de fronteriza.
All right. Ms. Falk, please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, and those arrests appear to date back to 2010.
Y esos dos arrestos ocurrieron en el 2010.
This happened February of last year at 5901 Bakers Ferry Road Southwest.
Can you repeat the name of the street for the interpreter, please?
Bakers Ferry Road Southwest.
Este incidente ocurrió en el 5901 de Bakers Ferry Road Southwest.
Raul Gonzalez, who was an employee at that location, had a severe laceration to his left eye.
El señor Raúl González, que trabajaba también en este mismo lugar, recibió una lesión en el ojo izquierdo
and scratches on his neck
y rasguños en el cuello.
Mr. Gonzalez stated that he and the defendant, his coworker, exchanged words previously in the day.
El señor González declaró que él y el acusado tuvieron un intercambio de palabras anteriormente durante ese día.
The defendant then approached him, pushed him, and grabbed him forcibly by the neck.
El acusado se acercó a él, lo empujó y por la fuerza lo tomó del cuello.
The defendant also punched him in the eye.
También le dio un puñetazo en el ojo.
Video footage showed the defendant walking up to Mr. Gonzalez.
El video mostró a este acusado caminar y acercarse al señor González,
standing in front of him and punching him in the face.
Parándose enfrente de él y dándole un puñetazo en la cara.
The defendant admitted to the supervisor that he punched Gonzalez in the face.
El acusado admitió a su supervisor que le dio un puñetazo al señor González,
but stated it was because Mr. Gonzalez said something about his mother.
Pero declaró que lo hizo debido a que el señor González dijo algo acerca de su madre.
Defendant then quit instead of being terminated.
El acusado renunció en lugar de haber sido echado.
The state is concerned about this defendant's ties to the community.
A la fiscalía le da inquietud las relaciones que tenga en la comunidad.
And for that reason, we are recommending a $3,000 surety bond.
Por ese motivo, queremos pedir una fianza bajo garantía de $3,000.
$2,000 on the battery and $1,000 on the simple battery.
Una por $2,000 por el cargo de golpes y lesiones y $1,000 por golpes y lesiones simples.
Stay away from 5901 Bakers Ferry Road.
Que se mantenga alejado de la dirección 5901 Bakers Ferry Road.
And no further contact with Raul Gonzalez.
Y que no tenga más contacto alguno con el señor Raúl González.
This bond is already set by the magistrate court, so essentially we're asking for their bond to remain as set.
Esta fianza fue ya establecida por el Tribunal de Magistrados de primera instancia, lo que estamos pidiendo es que se establezca.
Nothing further.
Nada más de la Fiscalía.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bartels. Please proceed.
Gracias, señor Bartel. Por favor, proceda.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I have spoken with Mr. Alvarado.
Gracias, su señoría. Yo he hablado con el señor Alvarado.
He does dispute some of the allegations that are in the warrant.
Él sí disputa algunos alegatos que están en la orden de arresto.
He understands that this initial appearance, not a trial,
Él entiende que esta es una comparecencia inicial, que no es un juicio.
he advises me that he is still employed at this place.
Él me dijo que él todavía trabaja en este lugar.
He advises me that he did not quit, contrary to what is.
Y que él no renunció, lo contrario a lo que estableció la Fiscalía.
I'm also advised that he still works with the alleged victim, Mr. Gonzalez, and in fact is Mr. Gonzalez's supervisor.
También se me declaró que él todavía sigue trabajando con el señor González. En realidad, él es el supervisor del señor González.
I'm sorry, is anybody else having the audio go in and out on Mr. Bartels? There are times I can't hear him.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't know what the problem is. I'll try to speak more clearly. But I had said that I am advised by Mr. Alvarado that he is actually Mr. Gonzalez's supervisor, that they still work together, and there have not been any problems since this date in early 2002 or 2022. Sorry.
Lo siento, lo que quería decir es que el señor Alvarado me ha dicho que él todavía trabaja con el señor González, trabajan juntos, él es su supervisor y que desde el día del incidente no han habido más problemas, quiere decir desde el año 2022.
I am also advised that he lives with his wife and two children. He and his wife have been together for approximately 20 years.
También él me ha dicho que él vive con su esposa y dos hijos y su esposa y él han estado juntos por 20 años.
So he has sufficient ties to the community.
Por eso él tiene suficiente establecimiento en la comunidad y relaciones.
And I'm also advised that he has cancer and is being treated with chemotherapy.
También me ha dicho que él tiene cáncer y está siendo tratado con quimioterapia.
Given the medical situation he is in, I just advise him that if he is having any medical problems, he needs to let jail staff know as soon as possible.
Debido a esta condición médica que él tiene, yo le he recomendado que le avise al personal en la cárcel si hubiese algún tipo de necesidad de tratamiento médico.
I'm also advised that his boss at work, Mr. Randy Smith, is willing to bail him out, and I think that would support his position that he is still employed here.
También él me ha dicho que su jefe, el señor Randy Smith, está dispuesto a pagar su fianza para que salga en libertad, lo que confirma que él todavía sigue empleado en el lugar.
There are two different charges. I would submit they appear to be duplicate or lesser included charges. One of them does.
Existen dos cargos y parece que son diferentes o duplicadas y una es como un cargo menor que el otro.
Given all of that, we would ask for a $1,000 good bond, a $500 bond on each of the two charges.
Por ese motivo estamos pidiendo una fianza de $1,000, es decir, $500 de fianza por cada cargo.
We would also ask for a no further violent contact order.
También pedimos una orden de no tener más contacto violento.
We would oppose a stay away order. If he is still employed there, that means that he has to go there to earn his livelihood.
También nos oponemos a que se emita una orden de mantenerse alejado del lugar, dado a que él continúa trabajando y debe ir a su trabajo ahí.
That is all for now, Your Honor.
Eso es todo por ahora, su señoría.
All right, at this time, defendant will receive $1,000 surety bond, 500 on each count. He said, okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Establezco una fianza bajo garantía de $1,000, $500 por cada cargo. Thank you, Your Honor.
He is to have no further violent contact with alleged victim while at work.
Y tampoco puede tener más contacto violento con la víctima durante el tiempo que estén trabajando.
Lo prometo, lo siento mucho.
I promise, I feel very sorry about that.
And no contact with the victim outside of work.
Y no tener ningún tipo de contacto una vez que estén fuera del trabajo con la víctima.
No, porque lo llevamos muy bien.
Don't say anything.
No diga nada, señor, por favor.
Additionally, if he's still employed at that address, he can return to that location.
Si usted además está empleado en ese lugar, ¿usted puede regresar a ese lugar?
Sí.
Again, he can only return there if still employed.
Solamente si usted todavía sigue empleado.
Thank you, Judge.
And he
Gracias.
has no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas.
No uso eso.
I don't use them.
All right.
Your Honor.
That concludes this hearing. Is there anything further from State of Defense?
Esto concluye la sesión. ¿Hay algo más sobre este caso?
No, Your Honor.
No, su señoría.
Best
No,
of luck to you, Mr. Alvarado.
La mejor de las suertes para usted, señor Alvarado.
Gracias, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. All right, who do we have next?
Position 5.
All right. Are you Guillermo Esquivel Alonso?
¿Es usted Guillermo Esquivel Alonso?
Sí.
Yes.
All right, your case is 23 CR 002342E.
El número de su caso es 23 CR 002342E.
In this case, you're charged with 2 counts of theft by deception.
En este caso, usted tiene 2 cargos por robo mediante engaño.
You have an absolute right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Usted tiene el derecho de guardar silencio. Todo lo que diga puede y será usado en su contra.
You have a right to an attorney.
Tiene el derecho a ser representado por un abogado.
And this proceeding is being broadcast over the internet as a live stream.
Y este proceso se está publicando a través de la internet en vivo.
That means any member of the public can log on and watch this.
Quiere decir que cualquier miembro del público puede entrar en la plataforma y observar este proceso.
Do you understand your rights and how I'm conducting this hearing?
¿Usted entiende sus derechos y cómo estoy procediendo en esta audiencia?
Sí.
Yes.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Mr. Howard, will you put the history onto the record, please?
Señor Howard, por favor, la información.
Yeah, one more. Let me look up something real quick.
Necesito buscar algo rápido.
All right, 7 total.
7 casos anteriores en total.
He was arrested earlier this year for 2 counts of shoplifting, 2 counts of theft by deception, Cobb County.
Shoplifting and 2 for theft by deception, sir.
Correct.
Al iniciar este año, él tuvo 2 cargos por ratería de tiendas y 2 por robo mediante engaño. Thank you, sir.
He got a looks like a holdout in Lawrenceville, Gwinnett County, for shoplifting.
Y también hay otro por ratería de tiendas en Lawrenceville, el condado de Gwinnett.
That's it.
Eso es todo.
All right, Ms. Duncan, please proceed.
Señora
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes, Your Honor, I do believe that Cobb County arrest was on April 12th of this week from Cobb County with the theft by shopliftings and theft by deceptions.
Sí, creo que esos cargos de erratería de tienda y robo mediante engaño en el condado de Cobb fueron el 12 de abril en esta semana.
Your Honor, in this case, the instances occurred on two separate and distinct days. The first being December 6th and the other one being, December 16th and December 3rd. This defendant entered the floor and decor located at 610 Holcomb Bridge Road.
Okay, one moment, 610 Holcomb Bridge Road.
Yes.
One moment, please. Sí, su señoría, se ve que este caso ocurrieron los incidentes en 2 días diferentes, uno el 16 de diciembre y otro el 3 de diciembre, cuando entra en la dirección 610 de Holcomb Bridge este acusado.
It is indicated that apparently this defendant has been doing this act, as I will describe, all over the metro Atlanta area.
Parece que este acusado ha estado llevando este tipo de actividad a través de toda el área de Atlanta metropolitana.
Starting with December 3rd, the defendant entered the location as previously stated, empty-handed.
En la fecha antes mencionada del 3 de diciembre, este acusado entró en el lugar con las manos vacías.
He had a valid receipt from another location and grabbed other business items from the Florida court at the incident location as stated and processed a refund for $133.61.
Él había obtenido objetos de otro lugar, entró con un recibo y obtuvo una devolución por $133.61.
And on December 16th, this defendant entered that same Florida court with a valid receipt from the Kennesaw store.
El 16 de diciembre entró en el mismo lugar, el mismo negocio, con un recibo de Kennesaw.
He grabbed items from the Florida court at the incident location on Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell.
Él tomó mercadería de el lugar que estaba localizado en Holcomb Bridge Road en Roswell.
And processed a refund in the amount of $786.09.
Y obtuvo una devolución de $786.09.
The loss prevention officer, Ann Simpson, who made contact with officers.
El oficial de prevención, de seguridad de prevención, hizo contacto con los otros oficiales, policías.
On March 29, 2023, indicated that both these transactions were fraudulent.
La fecha en que lo hizo fue el 29 de marzo del 2023, indicando que esas 2 transacciones eran falsas.
And that he was not allowed to make such returns at different locations for items he had not paid for.
Y que él no debía serle permitido hacer obtener ningún tipo de devolución en ese comercio ni en ninguna de las sucursales.
Given the facts as alleged in the warrant and the fact that this defendant does have an open case out of Cobb County for similar offenses and a hold for another theft offense, the state will be requesting a $3,000 total surety.
Entonces, debido a que él tiene todavía casos abiertos con cargos relacionados y similares a estos, y también tiene una detención por robo, se pide una fianza bajo garantía de $3,000.
That's $1,500 per count, a stay away from the Florida core located at 610 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell.
Eso serían $1,500 de fianza por cada uno de los 2 cargos, que se mantenga alejado del negocio Florida Decor, que está localizado en el 610 de Holcomb Bridge Road en Roswell.
No alcohol, drugs, and weapons, no further violations of Georgia law, and an anti-theft class.
Queda prohibido el uso de armas, alcohol y drogas, y también todo futuro incumplimiento de las leyes de hurto del estado de Georgia.
Nothing further from the state.
Nada más de parte de la fiscalía.
All right, Mr. Bartels?
Señor Bartels.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I have spoken with Mr. Esquivel.
Gracias, señoría. Yo he hablado con el señor Esquivel.
Advised him of the purpose of the hearing today and of his rights.
Le expliqué el propósito de la audiencia y sus derechos de hoy.
And he indicates to me that he is self-employed, full-time.
Can you repeat that?
He indicates to me that he is self-employed on a full-time basis.
Él me indicó que él es un independiente, empleado independiente.
He lives in Atlanta with his wife and 3 children.
Él vive en el área de Atlanta con su esposa e hijos.
I'm also told that he has additional extended family.
También él indicó que tenía parientes en el alrededor del área de Atlanta.
He does have ties to the community.
Él tiene relaciones y establecimiento en el área de Atlanta.
That we would ask for a $500 good bond on each charge for $1,000 total.
Queremos solicitar una fianza de $500 por cargo.
I believe that would be sufficient to assure his appearance in court.
Creo que eso sería suficiente debido a la comparecencia de él en esta audiencia.
There would not be a problem with the stay away order.
There will be no problem with what, sir?
We would not have a problem with the stay away order.
Y no nos oponemos con la orden de mantenerse alejado del lugar o lugares.
That is it for now.
Eso es todo por ahora.
All right, defendant will receive $1,000 surety bond.
Este acusado se le otorga una fianza de $1,000 bajo garantía.
$500 on each count.
$500 por cada cargo.
He is to stay away from the Floor and Decor store.
Debe mantenerse alejado de el negocio Floor and Decor.
On Holcomb Bridge Road.
Situado en Holcomb Bridge Road.
And have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas.
Is there anything further?
¿Hay algo más?
Nothing from defense, Your Honor.
Nada de parte de la defensa.
Nothing from the state.
Nada de parte de la fiscalía.
All right, that concludes your hearing, sir. Best of luck to you.
Esto concluye su audiencia, señor. Le deseo mucha suerte.
Gracias.
Thank you.
How much was that?
$1,000 each. Ms. Chancey, will you sound before you go?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I thought it was 500 each.
I'm sorry, 1,000 total, 500 each. That's correct.
Your Honor.
Por favor, a todos los presentes en la plataforma, ¿hay alguien que necesitaría ayuda con interpretación en español para comunicarse con la jueza? Por favor, prenda su cámara y salude.
All right, hearing and seeing none, Ms. Chancey, have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You have a great
Thank you.
evening, Your Honor. You're
All right.
welcome, sir. A pleasure. Yes.
Take care. All right, who do we have next?
Position 1, Alexander.
All right, Mr. Alexander, good afternoon. Your case is 23 CR 0023229H. You're charged with unlawful contact during a 911 call or making a false report. That's interesting. With the offense date of April the 4th. Do you understand your rights today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Howard, can I have his history, please?
Routine total. Open case in Superior Court. 4 counts, theft by deception, shoplifting. 22 SC 183793. Douglas County, you got shoplifting and theft by conversion. Henry County, misdemeanor possession of marijuana, tampering with evidence, obstruction. On probation and called for theft by deception. They gave him 12 months last year in August. Got another theft by deception. 2018 obstruction conviction, 2017 2 counts of simple assault conviction. 2019 probation. That's it.
Talk, please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. On April 4th, 2023, the defendant, while driving his Dodge Challenger, fled from a traffic stop. The officers then began checking cameras in the area to find out where his vehicle went after he fled that traffic stop. While checking, the defendant called 911 and reported his car stolen and claimed he was at 100 Grayfield Lane, but none of the officers could find him at that location. And the 911 system that he called into showed he was at 1110 Hammond Drive, and officers were able to use the cameras, the street cameras, to see that the defendant's vehicle entered the parking garage at that location. The defendant also happens to lease an apartment at 1110 Hammond Drive. The defendant is actually currently also in custody for forgery in the 3rd degree and possession of marijuana WID, which occurred about 10 days after this incident. The state's recommendation at this time is a $2,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That is all for the state.
Thank you. Mr. Bartels?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I have spoken with Mr. Alexander. He does deny that he made any kind of false report. He understands that this is a trial. It's not an evidentiary. He does dispute the allegations in the warrant. Indicates that he is employed full-time. Just want to make sure. Can everybody hear me okay?
You're going in and out.
You're going in and out.
I
Okay.
think if you sit perfectly still, Mr. Bartels, we can hear you when you don't turn.
Sorry, I move around a lot when I talk. I will try to sit still. I'm advised that he is employed full-time at Emory Hospital. He's a transportation and medical technologist. He and his fiance are together. I'm advised that she is expecting, so he has a child on the way, as well as he has extended family. His father and 2 brothers and other family members live in the metro Atlanta area. And I'm advised that his father has some medical problems and that he is currently helping care for his father. As I mentioned, he's employed full-time. He has a bachelor's from University of West Georgia and a child on the way. Given all of that, we would ask for a $500 good bond on this case.
All right, defendant will receive a $1,500 surety bond. He's to have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons as a condition. Is there anything further?
Honor.
Mr. Bartels, if you're saying something, we couldn't hear you.
$1,500 good bond, Your Honor.
Yes.
And Ms. Bridgewater, when's the SAP reset date?
It is April the 27th.
Thank you, Ms. Bridgewater.
All right. Sir, I know you have a question. The best thing for you to do is to ask Mr. Bartels your question so that you don't infringe upon your right to remain silent. Do you have a question about the bond itself?
Yes, I do not have a question. However, I do have a statement.
No.
Sure, I would advise you not to make any statement.
It has nothing to do with the specifics of the case. I just wanted to touch on, I guess, Pretrial Howard. They also made this mistake in felony court. They're stating that I have a pending case in Henry County when it also shows that I also have a conviction. That case has been completely closed, and they've done the same mistake with Newton County. So I just ask that the court, the solicitor or assistant district attorney, to whom it may concern, that they go ahead and actually do their due diligence, do their research if they need to call out, because a lot of this information that's being conveyed is incorrect and it needs to be corrected.
Okay, so
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Bartels, if you perhaps look into that on his GCIC.
And also,
All right.
also, ma'am, I would also like to state that in Cobb County, the theft by shoplifting and the theft by deception, they're running concurrent, is literally the same case, but it's different counts. But they tried to break up the charges, but I need to go ahead and lobby for myself, because it seems that the court has not provided the proper representation to go ahead and convey what is actually going on. So at this point, I feel like, I'm not getting justice, in my opinion.
Sir, we can look into that, but all the court can do today is just set the bond.
Okay.
I do appreciate that information about your GCIC. That's something you should work on with your attorney, okay?
Okay, and also, so whom do I speak with about getting a reset or a consideration for?
Your case is automatically going to be reset to state all purpose on April the 27th, okay?
That's
And
only
then-
if you're still in jail at that point.
Only if you're still in jail. All right?
Well, they haven't granted bond. That's what I was asking, when do I get a date to grant bond? I know this is not felony court, but
I can't tell you that. I can only address the charges we discussed here today, okay?
Yep.
All right. Best of luck to you, sir. I know that this is a frustrating process, but I believe you and Mr. Bartels will be able to navigate it, okay? All right, does that conclude the entire calendar? Is there an announcement for position 15?
Position number 15 is a medical reset.
Okay,
Let's conclude the calendar, maybe be excused.
yes, you may take care.
Go through the calendar.
Yes, of course. Ms. Bridgewater, will you please review it for me?
Okay, are we ready to go over the calendar? Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is April the 27th. Position number 1 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,500 good bond. Position 2, SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. Position 3, SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. Position 4, SAP calendar with a total $2,500 good bond. Position 5, SAP calendar with a $1,000 total good bond. Position 6, SAP calendar with a total $4,000 good bond. Position 7, SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. Position 8, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position 9, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 10 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. Position 11 was released, therefore is reset further notice. Position 12 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,500 good bond. Position 13 was released, therefore is reset further notice. Position 14 reset further notice with a $4,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. And then position 15 is a medical reset set for the April 17th calendar. Are there any questions, comments, corrections, otherwise?
And
No?
that's it.
Thanks, everyone.
No, that's it.
Everybody, have a
Okay,
good
let's,
weekend.
yes, let's enjoy this day.
Thank you.
Judge,
Have
it's
a
on
good
its
rest
way
of the
to